The Great Hall of the Galactic Hunter Academy was full of cadets from 12 different star systems. They sat in rows of floating seats, their bodies of all shapes and sizes. Some had scales, some had fur, some had shells hard as stone. They had come here to learn how to hunt the most dangerous creatures in the galaxy. Park sat in the back row. She was small compared to the aliens around her. Her black hair was tied back in a simple ponytail. Her brown eyes watched everything quietly. She was 26 years old and the only human female in this year's class. Next to her sat another human. He was taller than but still shorter than most aliens in the room. He leaned over and whispered, "I have a bad feeling about today." Nodded but said nothing. She had the same feeling. At the front of the hall stood Instructor. She was a reptilian species known for their cold blood and colder hearts. She stood 3 meters tall. Her scales were dark green, almost black. Her yellow eyes moved slowly across the room like a predator watching prey. "Today is the predatory assessment," said. Her voice was like rocks grinding together. "I will evaluate each species based on your natural hunting abilities. This will determine your ranking for the rest of your training." The assessment began, called species one by one. She used a large screen to show their biology, their evolutionary history, their natural weapons. The went first. They were massive creatures with 4 arms and bodies like gorillas, praised their strength and ranked them high. The went next. They were fast, with legs built for sprinting, noted their speed and gave them a good score. One by one, the species were measured and ranked, watched and waited. Her heart beat a little faster each time a new species was called. Finally, Yellow Eyes found her. "Humans," she said. The word sounded like an insult in her mouth. Stood and walked to the front. She could feel every alien eye on her back. The room was very quiet. Pressed a button and human biology appeared on the screen. "Let us examine this species," she said. There was amusement in her voice. "No claws," pointed at the image of human hands. "Flat, weak nails that cannot cut anything." Some cadets laughed. "No fangs, flat teeth meant for chewing plants." More laughter. "No venom, no natural armor, no camouflage ability. Thin skin that cuts easily, slow running speed compared to true predators." Turned to face the class. "Humans are not hunters. They are persistent scavengers at best. They survived on their home world through luck and tool dependency. Without their machines and weapons, they are nothing but soft, slow, weak prey animals." The laughter was loud now. Felt heat rise to her face, but she did not move. She did not speak. She stood perfectly still and let them laugh. Was on his feet, his hands were in fists. "That's not true," he shouted. "Sit down, human," said calmly, "unless you wish to challenge my assessment." A young with kind eyes pulled back into his seat. "Don't," she whispered. "It's not worth it." Finally spoke. Her voice was quiet but clear. "Instructor." The laughter stopped, looked at her with surprise. Prey did not usually speak back. "Yes, human." "I have a question," said. "Has any ever hunted on 7?" The room went completely silent. Even the air seemed to stop moving. Scales shifted color slightly. It was a small change, but noticed it. Fear. The instructor was afraid. 7 is a forbidden world, said slowly. The Galactic Council has banned all hunting expeditions there. Because 3 apex species live there, continued. Though no hunter has ever returned alive from that planet. Is that correct? That is correct, admitted. What is your point? Took a breath. I am invoking Academy Bylaw 7, the solo proving hunt. Gasps filled the room, shouted no. The solo proving hunt was an ancient tradition. Any cadet could challenge their assessment by completing a solo hunt on a world of their choosing. If they succeeded, their ranking would be reconsidered. If they failed, they would die. Lips pulled back to show her fangs. It was almost a smile. You wish to hunt on 7, alone, with only a basic survival kit. Yes, said. You will die, said, painfully, slowly. Those creatures will tear you apart. Maybe, said, but that is my choice to make. Studied her for a long moment. Then she laughed. It was a cold, cruel sound. Very well, human, I grant your request. Your shuttle leaves tomorrow. She leaned close to. Her breath was hot and smelled like meat. At least your death will serve as a lesson to other weak species who forget their place. Did not step back, she looked directly into his yellow eyes. We will see, she said. That night found packing her small bag. You're really going to do this, he said. It was not a question. Yes. Why? Just because she insulted us. Stop packing. She turned to look at her friend. Do you know why humans survived on Earth? Our planet was full of creatures bigger, faster, and stronger than us. Lions, tigers, bears, wolves. We made tools, said. Before the tools, said. Before the spears and the fire, do you know how our ancestors hunted? Shook his head. They ran, said. They chased their prey for hours, days sometimes. They did not stop. The prey would get tired and fall, and our ancestors would still be running, still coming, never stopping. She zipped her bag closed. Thinks humans are weak because we don't have claws or fangs. She has never seen what a human can do when we decide not to stop. Was quiet for a moment, then he hugged her. Come back alive, he said. Hugged him back. I will, she promised. The next morning, she boarded the shuttle alone. As it lifted off the station and jumped into hyperspace, looked out the window at the stars. Somewhere out there was a death world with 3 apex predators that had never known fear. They would learn. The shuttle broke through the clouds of 7 and saw the world below. Green. Everything was green. A thick jungle covered the planet from horizon to horizon. Rivers cut through the trees like silver snakes. Mountains rose in the distance, their peaks lost in mist. It was beautiful. It was also the most dangerous place in the known galaxy. The shuttle landed in a small clearing, grabbed her survival kit and stepped out. The air was thick and hot. It smelled of flowers and rot and something else, something alive. 30 days, the shuttle pilot said through the speaker. He looked at her with pity. If you are still alive in 30 days, signal with your beacon. I will return, if not. I understand, said. The shuttle lifted off and disappeared into the clouds. The sound of its engines faded. Then there was only the jungle. Stood still and listened. Birds called in the distance. Insects buzzed around her head. Wind moved through the leaves, but underneath those sounds there was something else. Movement, heavy, careful, watching. She was not alone. Did not run. She did not hide. Instead, she walked calmly into the jungle and began to look for a good place to observe. She found it 2 hours later, a tall tree with thick branches and wide leaves. She climbed up and settled into a spot where she could see but not be seen. Then she waited. The first creature appeared at sunset. Had studied them before coming here, but seeing one in person was different. It was massive, the size of a small shuttle. 6 thick legs carried its armored body through the jungle. Its hide was covered in bony plates that looked strong enough to stop bullets. Spines rose from its back, each one dripping with venom. It moved slowly, its head swinging from side to side. It was hunting. Its infrared eyes scanned the jungle for heat, held her breath and stayed perfectly still. Her body temperature was different from the native animals. If it looked up, it might see her. But it did not look up. It passed beneath her tree and continued into the darkness. Let out her breath slowly. She had survived her first encounter. Over the next 3 days she watched. She did not hunt, she did not fight. She only watched and learned. She saw on the second day. They were serpentine creatures that moved in packs. Their bodies were long and flexible, covered in scales that changed color with their mood. They hunted together, surrounding their prey and then releasing a sound that disrupted brain function. heard the scream once from far away, and even at that distance she felt dizzy and sick. She saw thee on the third day. They ruled the sky. Their wingspan was enormous, and their feathers were razor-sharp. They hunted at night, dropping silently from above to strike their prey. Their eyes glowed faintly in the darkness, green lights moving through the canopy. 3 apex predators. Each one was terrifying in its own way. The used overwhelming power. The used coordination and psychological attack. The used stealth and surprise. Any one of them could kill her in seconds. But saw something else too, something important. The 3 species avoided each other. They had divided the jungle into territories. The controlled the lowlands near the rivers. The owned the middle jungle. The dominated the highlands and the cliffs. They almost never crossed into each other's territory. This was their weakness. On the 4th day, climbed down from her tree, she checked her supplies: water purifier, fire starter, knife, medical kit, dried food for emergencies. Everything was in order. She started running. Not fast, was not a fast runner. No human was compared to most alien species, but that was not the point. Humans were not built for speed. They were built for something else. Endurance. Ran at a steady pace through the jungle. She ran through territory, past their nesting grounds, across their hunting paths. The great armored beasts noticed her. They began to follow. She did not stop. She ran into territory. The snake-like creatures rose from their hiding places, confused by this strange, small creature that did not freeze, did not hide, just kept moving. They began to follow too. She did not stop. She ran toward the highlands, toward the roosts. The shadow flyers saw her from above. They circled, curious. Why was this tiny thing running? Where was it going? They followed. She did not stop. By the end of the 5th day, had done something no creature had ever done on 7. She had moved through all 3 territories without being caught, and she had drawn all 3 apex species after her. The predators were confused. This was not how prey acted. Prey ran away. Prey hid. Prey fought. But this creature just kept moving. It did not seem to have a destination. It did not seem to be trying to escape. It just ran. And it would not stop. Found a small cave that night. She drank water. She ate a small portion of dried food. She slept for exactly 4 hours. Then she woke up and started running again. Her muscles burned, her lungs ached, her feet blistered and bled, but she did not stop. On Earth, millions of years ago, her ancestors had hunted this way. They would follow an animal for hours, sometimes days. The animal would sprint and rest, but the humans would never stop moving. They walked when the animal ran. They jogged when the animal walked. They kept coming, always visible on the horizon, never resting. Eventually, the animal would collapse from exhaustion, and the humans would finally catch up. It was called persistence hunting, and was about to show this death world what it really meant. By day 7, that had been following her began to stumble. Its massive body was not made for long pursuits. It was an ambush predator. It was supposed to wait and strike, not chase for days without rest. By day 10, the pack had split up. Half of them had given up. The others kept following, but they were slower now. Their screams came less often. They were getting tired. By day 12, the no longer flew at night. They perched in trees, watching her pass below. Their razor wings drooped. They did not have the energy to hunt. Kept running. Her body was breaking. She had lost weight. Her eyes were red from lack of sleep. Sometimes she saw things that were not there, but she did not stop. Because she could see something in the eyes of the apex predators now. Something they had never felt before. Fear. They were beginning to understand that this small, soft, weak creature was not running from them. She was hunting them. Day 15. Stood on a rocky cliff and looked down at the jungle below. The sun was setting, painting the sky in shades of red and orange. It was beautiful, but she had no time for beauty. Below her, Something was happening that had never happened before on 7. The end they were fighting. The great armored beast had been chasing for 2 weeks. It was tired and angry and confused. In its frustration, it had wandered too far into territory. The snake creatures had seen this as an attack. They had responded with their neural screams. Now the jungle was full of sounds of battle. The roared, the screamed, trees fell, the ground shook. Watched and smiled. It was a small, tired smile, but it was real. Her plan was working. She had been running for 15 days. Her body was barely holding together. She ate whatever she could find while moving. Insects, small animals she caught in simple traps, roots and berries that her survival manual said were safe. She slept in short bursts, 20 or 30 minutes at a time, always moving again before the predators could catch up. She had lost so much weight that her clothes hung loose on her frame. Her feet were wrapped in strips of cloth torn from her jacket. The blisters had become wounds. The wounds had become scars. But she was still moving, still running, still hunting. And the apex predators were breaking. The below finally killed 2 of them, but it was badly wounded. Venom dripped from a dozen cuts on its hide. It limped away from the battle, back toward its own territory. Started moving again. She circled around, cutting through the paths she had memorized over the past 2 weeks. She knew this jungle now. She knew where the slept. She knew where the nested. She knew where the roosted. She knew their weaknesses. That night she set her first trap. They were cold-blooded like Instructor. At night, when the temperature dropped, they became slow and sluggish. They slept deeply, depending on their armor to protect them. Found the wounded from the battle. It had collapsed in a small clearing, too tired and hurt to continue. Its great eyes were closed. Its breathing was slow and heavy. She approached carefully. Every step was silent. Every movement was controlled. Her heart was pounding, but her hands were steady. She did not want to kill it. That was not the point. With her knife, she made a small, precise cut on this flank, just deep enough to scar. The creature stirred but did not wake. The cut would heal, but it would leave a mark. A mark that said, "I was here, I touched you while you slept, and you could not stop me." Disappeared into the night. The next morning she found a nesting ground. The snake creatures were disoriented at dawn, their cold bodies slow to warm up. Their neural scream was weaker when they were cold. Walked into their nest. They saw her. They tried to scream, but the sound was weak, barely enough to make her dizzy. She kept walking, right through the middle of their nest, past their eggs, past their sleeping young. She stopped at the largest, the pack leader. It hissed at her, its scales changing colors rapidly in fear and anger. But it could not attack. It was too cold, too slow. Reached out and touched its head, just a gentle touch. Then she walked away. They did not follow. That evening she turned her attention to they were hardest to reach, roosting high in the cliffs, but had been watching them for weeks. She had noticed something. At dusk, when the sun was setting and night had not yet arrived, they could not see well. Their eyes were made for darkness, not for the in-between times. Climbed the cliff. Her hands were bleeding by the time she reached the top. Her arms shook with exhaustion, but she did not stop. She found the roost just as the last light faded. The great birds were sitting with their eyes closed, waiting for full darkness to hunt. Walked among them. She touched their razor wings. She ran her fingers along their feathers. They felt her presence but could not see her clearly. They shifted nervously but did not attack. Then darkness came, and their eyes opened, glowing green. But was already gone. Day 18, Day 19, Day 20. Continued her campaign. She never killed. She never took more than she needed to survive, but she was everywhere. She was in their territories, their nests, their roosts. She touched them while they slept. She walked past them while they were weak. She left marks that showed she had been there. And she never stopped moving. The apex predators had never experienced anything like this. For millions of years, they had been the hunters. Everything else on this planet was prey. They had never known what it felt like to be hunted. Now they knew. Was not stronger than them. She was not faster. She did not have claws or venom or razor wings, but she had something none of them had. She had the ability to keep going when everything in her body screamed to stop. She had the patience to wait for the right moment. She had the intelligence to turn their world against them. And she had something else, something that the apex predators were only now beginning to understand. She had no mercy. Not yet. She would show mercy when she chose to, but until then she would keep coming, keep running, keep hunting. On day 21, woke up to find that they had stopped following her. She could see it in the distance, lying in a clearing. When it caught her scent, it did not rise. It did not chase. It just lay there, watching her with tired, fearful eyes. It had given up. On day 22, they began to flee from her scent. When she walked toward their territory, they slithered away. Their screams were silent. On day 23, they no longer circled above her. They stayed in their roosts even at night. When she looked up, she could see their green eyes watching her from the darkness, but they did not attack. They were afraid. Stopped running. For the first time in over 3 weeks, she stood still. She looked at the death world around her, at the apex predators that had terrorized this planet for millions of years. They were broken. Not killed, not conquered by force, but broken in a way that was much deeper than physical defeat. They had learned what humans were. Turned and walked toward the highlands, toward a plateau she had seen from the cliffs, a sacred neutral ground where none of the 3 species went. It was time for the final lesson. Day 25. The sun was setting over the highland plateau, sat by a small fire, roasting meat from a creature she had caught earlier. The smell of cooking food filled the air. She looked terrible. Her cheeks were hollow. Her eyes had dark circles under them. She had not slept more than a few hours in the past week. Her body had eaten through all its fat and had started consuming its own muscle. Every movement hurt. But she was alive, and she was smiling. She had won. The first apex predator arrived as darkness fell. The alpha came from the jungle below. It was the biggest one she had seen, the leader of all on this continent. It had been following her scent for the past day, but it was not chasing her anymore. It walked slowly into the firelight. Its massive head was low. Its venom spines were flat against its back, not raised for attack. Its great armored body moved carefully, almost hesitantly. It stopped 30 meters from her fire. Then it lay down. Did not move. She kept eating her meal. She did not look at she did not acknowledge it. The creature made a sound. It was low and rumbling, almost like a moan. It was the sound of surrender. The came next. The snake creatures slithered up the plateau in a long, winding line. There were dozens of them, the leaders of the largest swarm on the planet. Their scales were dull now, not bright with aggression. Their neural scream was completely silent. They coiled at the edge of the firelight, their heads low to the ground. They watched with wide, fearful eyes. They did not attack. They did not even hiss. They waited. Finally, they descended. Their great wings blocked out the stars as they landed in the trees around the plateau. Their razor feathers were folded close to their bodies. Their glowing green eyes were fixed on, but there was no hunger in them. Only fear, only respect. Finished her meal. She wiped her hands on her torn pants. Then she stood up and looked at the 3 apex species that had come to her. For a long moment, no one moved. The only sound was the cracking of the fire. Then spoke. Her voice was rough from days of silence, but it was clear and calm. Her translator device turned her words into sounds and signals that the creatures could understand. "You have hunted on this world for millions of years," she said. "You have never known fear. Everything else was prey to you. You were the kings of this planet." The alpha lowered its head even further. The pressed themselves flatter against the ground, the tucked their wings. And then I came, continued. A small, soft creature with no claws, no fangs, no armor. You thought I was weak. You thought I was prey. She paused, the fire crackled. You were wrong. She walked toward the Alpha. The massive creature did not move. It did not even breathe. Stopped right in front of its great head, close enough to touch its armored snout. I did not hunt you because I wanted to eat you, she said. I did not hunt you because I was afraid of you. I hunted you to teach you something. She reached out and placed her hand on this head. The creature trembled under her touch. Humans are not prey. We are not scavengers. We are not weak little creatures who depend on tools to survive. Her voice grew harder. We are the creatures who follow you until you cannot run anymore. We are the ones who come at night when you are sleeping. We are the ones who never, ever stop. We have hunted species bigger and stronger than you for millions of years. We have hunted them until they went extinct or learned to fear us. She let her words sink in. And now you have learned to fear us too. The made that moaning sound again. It was a sound of complete submission. Step back. She looked at all three species gathered before her. These were the most dangerous creatures on one of the most dangerous planets in the galaxy. They had killed every hunter who had ever come here. They had never known what it felt like to be prey. Until now. I am going to leave this planet soon, said. My ship will come in 5 days, and I am going to take some of you with me. Not to kill you, not to cage you, just to show the galaxy what happened here. She paused. After that, I will bring you back. You will live on this planet like you always have, but you will remember this. You will remember me, and you will remember what happens when humans hunt. The creatures did not move. And there is one more thing, said. Other humans will come to this planet someday. Scientists, explorers, hunters who are braver or more foolish than most. When they come, you will not attack them. You will not hunt them. You will let them walk through your territory safely. You will let them leave when they want to leave. She looked at each species in turn. Do you understand? The Alpha pressed its snout to the ground. The swarm lowered their heads until they were touching the dirt. They dropped from the trees and lay flat on the ground, their wings spread wide in a gesture of complete surrender. They understood. Nodded, then she walked back to her fire and sat down. She added more wood to the flames. She lay back and looked up at the stars. For the first time in 25 days, she felt safe enough to really rest. Around her, the 3 apex species of 7 stood guard. They watched the jungle below. They watched the sky above, not because they were waiting to attack her, because they were protecting her. Closed her eyes. A memory came to her, a story her grandmother had told her when she was a little girl. It was about the old days on Earth, before the cities, before the farms. The days when humans lived in the wild alongside lions and wolves and bears. Other animals run and hide from predators, her grandmother had said. But humans are different. We look the predator in the eye. We follow it home. We learn its secrets. And then we decide whether to kill it or let it live. That is our gift. That is our curse. We are the only species that can show mercy to the things that want to eat us. Smiled in her sleep. She had shown mercy tonight. She had broken the apex predators of 7, and then she had chosen not to destroy them. She had let them live. And they would never forget it. The fire burned low. The stars wheeled overhead. And on a death world at the edge of known space, a small human woman slept peacefully, surrounded by monsters who had learned to bow. The shuttle bay of the Galactic Hunter Academy was filled with people. Cadets had come from every part of the station. Instructors stood in formal lines. Even the Academy director, an ancient being named, had left his chambers to be present. They were all waiting for the shuttle from 7. Instructor stood at the front of the crowd. Her scales had lost some of their shine over the past month. She had not been sleeping well. Every night, she dreamed of the small human woman walking into the jungle alone. Every morning, she woke up wondering if today would be the day the shuttle returned with a corpse. Or nothing at all. The shuttle appeared in the bay entrance. It moved slowly, carefully. When it landed, the engines powered down. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then the door opened. Park walked down the ramp. A gasp ran through the crowd. She looked like a ghost. Her clothes were torn and dirty. Her body was thin, almost skeletal. Her hair had been cut short with a knife. Her eyes had a hollow, distant look. But she was walking, she was alive. Pushed through the crowd, tears were running down his face. He tried to run to her, but something made him stop. There was movement behind. 3 containment fields floated down the ramp. They were glowing softly, marking the boundaries of their invisible walls. But the creatures inside them were not trapped. They were following. The first field held a Alpha. Its massive armored body barely fit inside the containment zone. It walked slowly behind, its head low. The second field held 3 swarm leaders. They slithered in careful coils, their scales dull and quiet. The third field held 2. They walked on their folded wings, their razor feathers tucked close. Their green eyes watched back. The crowd fell completely silent. No one moved, no one breathed. Academy security forces raised their weapons. Energy rifles pointed at the apex predators. One wrong move, one sudden attack, and they would fire. But the creatures did not attack. They did not even look at the security forces. They watched. When she stopped, they stopped. When she turned, they turned, like dogs following their master. Instructor stepped forward. Her voice cracked when she spoke. "This is impossible. You could not have. These creatures kill everything. They cannot be tamed." Looked at her, just looked. Her hollow eyes met yellow ones. Stepped back without meaning to. Something in that gaze made her want to run. "They are not tamed," said. Her voice was rough and quiet. "They are not trained. They are not broken by force." She reached into her torn jacket and pulled out a small recording device. "I recorded everything. 30 days, every hunt, every chase, every moment they followed me while I refused to stop moving." She held out the device. "Would you like to see what happened, Instructor? Would you like to see how a human hunts?" Did not take the device. Her claws were shaking. Director moved through the crowd. He was old beyond measure, his species unknown. His eyes were like deep pools of darkness. When he spoke, his voice seemed to come from everywhere at once. "Show us," he said. The recording played on every screen in the shuttle bay. The cadets watched in silence as 30 days of footage unfolded. They saw running through the jungle. They saw her sleeping in 20-minute intervals. They saw her walking into nests and roosts, touching creatures that could kill her with a single strike. They saw the apex predators chasing her, day after day, mile after mile, never catching her, never able to rest. They saw the fear growing in the creature's eyes, fear of this small, soft thing that would not stop, would not rest, would not give up. They saw the surrender on the highland plateau, the 3 most dangerous species on the planet, lying in the dirt before a single human woman. When the recording ended, no one spoke. "Looked at, you asked why humans survived on our death world. You said it was luck, tools, dependency on machines." She stepped closer. Scales changed color, flickering with fear. "You were wrong," said. "We survived because every other species in the universe runs away from predators, but we are the only species that runs toward them. We chase them. We follow them. We hunt them until they break, or we do." Her eyes were cold and patient and utterly terrifying. "And we usually do not break." Director spoke again. "Cadet Park, your solo-proving hunt is complete. Your ranking will be reconsidered." He turned to address the entire crowd. "Effective immediately, the species assessment protocols of this academy are changed. Humans are no longer classified as limited threat. They are now classified as apex persistence predators. Maximum caution is advised. The words echoed through the silent hall. Later that day, Instructor submitted a transfer request to a different station on the far side of the galaxy. Director approved it within the hour. The apex predators were returned to 7. Reports over the following months confirmed that the planet had changed. The creatures no longer attacked humanoid visitors. In fact, they fled at the first sign of human scent. Scientists from across the galaxy came to study this phenomenon. None of them could fully explain it. But could. She explained it to one evening, months later, in the Academy mess hall. She was finally eating full meals again. The weight was returning to her body. The hollow look was fading from her eyes, but something had changed in her, something permanent. "You could have died," said for the 100th time. "I could have," agreed. She took another bite of her food. Was it worth it, just to prove wrong? Considered the question. She had been asked this many times over the past months, by instructors, by reporters, by cadets who looked at her with fear and respect. "I was not proving her wrong," said finally. "I was reminding everyone what we are." She looked at her friend with those patient, hollow eyes, the eyes of someone who had hunted nightmares and won. "We are the monsters that other monsters have nightmares about," she said. "The galaxy just forgot that for a while. I helped them remember." Was quiet for a long moment, then he smiled. "Remind me never to make you angry," he said. Laughed. It was the first time she had laughed in months. "I will remind you," she promised. Outside the mess hall windows, stars burned in the endless dark. Somewhere out there, on 100 worlds, aliens told stories about the death planet and the human who had broken it. The stories grew with each telling. They became legends, warnings. Never underestimate the humans. Never make them chase you. Because they will not stop. They will never, ever stop. And when they finally catch you, you will pray that they are in a mood for mercy. Finished her meal and looked out at the stars. Her grandmother's words echoed in her mind. The mountain does not chase the river wears down the mountain. Somewhere out there, 3 apex species were learning to fear the river. And Park smiled.